It happened in less than 30 seconds on a bright Saturday morning at Willow Creek Playground. The air smelled like cut grass and sunscreen, the kind of day you never forget for all the wrong reasons. One moment, my wife Emma was laughing with our daughter, sunlight on her hair, her wheelchair parked neatly at the end of the playground ramp. The next, a woman in a neon yellow HOA vest stormed toward her, shouting something about community standards and no-wheel zones. Then, before anyone could react, she gripped the handles of Emma's chair and yanked hard. The sound of rubber scraping on concrete burned into my memory. Children froze. Parents gasped. My wife's hands clutched air as the world tilted beneath her. That moment, those few seconds, split my life in two. Everything after would carry the echo of that scrape, that humiliation, that rage that still hasn't stopped vibrating inside my chest. My name is Daniel Mercer, and before that morning, I thought I understood control. I'm a firefighter. I've run into burning buildings, dragged men twice my size through smoke, so thick you could taste it. But nothing prepared me for watching my wife, a woman who's already fought every kind of battle, get her dignity ripped away in front of our daughter. Emma's been in a wheelchair since a car accident 3 years ago. She's strong, brilliant, and the reason I believe in second chances. When she laughs, it fills every inch of the room like sunlight spilling through glass. We moved to Willow Creek 2 summers ago, chasing quiet, a little suburban slice of heaven. Pastel houses, trimmed hedges, an HOA that promised harmony through rules. It sounded safe, until it wasn't. From day one, the HOA president, Patricia Holloway, made it clear we didn't fit the image. Our ramp was unsightly. Emma's wheelchair blocked aesthetic continuity. Even the accessible van we parked on the street had earned us 3 warnings in 6 months. We paid every fine, smiled through every insult, hoping she'd eventually get bored. She didn't. That morning, our 8-year-old daughter Lily had begged us to go to the playground. Emma packed snacks, and I promised to join them after mowing the lawn. I still remember the hum of the mower, the smell of gasoline, the way the sky looked, so normal, so harmless. Then the scream. It wasn't loud at first, just a small, shocked cry from Lily, but it tore through me like a siren. By the time I reached the playground, Emma was half collapsed on the sand, trying to push herself up while Patricia stood over her, still gripping the wheelchair like it was contraband. "This is a no-wheel zone." Patricia was shouting. "This playground is for walking children only. You're violating HOA playground rules." Every parent had frozen. Phones were out. No one intervened. Maybe they didn't believe what they were seeing. I didn't either. I remember my voice low and shaking. "Put that chair down." She turned to me, eyes full of that smug authority only people drunk on small power can hold. "Your wife needs to learn boundaries, Mr. Mercer. This community isn't an ADA daycare." That's when I saw the red paint on her nails. Perfect, glossy red against the black handles of Emma's wheelchair. My wife's knuckles were bleeding from trying to stop her. My daughter's ice cream lay melting beside them. Everything ordinary, grass, laughter, birds, felt wrong, warped, tainted. I moved toward them. Slowly, controlled. I'm trained to stay calm in chaos. But I could feel my pulse roaring in my ears. "Let go," I said again. She did, but with a shove, sending the chair clattering onto its side. The sound of metal hitting pavement was louder than any siren I've ever heard. That's the moment my wife's life changed again. And this time, I wasn't running into a fire. I was standing in one, watching it spread. Tell me where you're watching from. It didn't start that morning. It started the week we moved in. The HOA had sent a welcome basket, cookies, flyers, and a 3-page resident compliance packet. Patricia Holloway herself had delivered it, all perfume and pearls, smiling like she owned the air we breathed. "We like to keep things uniform here," she'd said, glancing at Emma's chair like it was graffiti. "I assume you'll be installing something less industrial for the ramp?" I'd laughed it off then. Emma hadn't. I saw her smile tighten, saw that little flicker in her eyes that said she knew what was coming. Over the months, Patricia found reasons to visit. The mailbox was half an inch too high. The ramp didn't match the neighborhood's color scheme. The van violated curb appeal standards. Once, she even suggested we repaint the blue accessibility symbol on our driveway because it clashed with the landscape palette. We thought it was pettiness, not hatred. We were wrong. One night, Emma rolled into the kitchen, her phone trembling in her hand. She left a note on my car. I took it from her. Typed in cursive on HOA letterhead, neighborhood image is declining. Please reconsider using public spaces during family hours. Daniel, she whispered, she means the playground. She's bluffing, I said. No one's that heartless. Emma looked at me, calm but cold. You've never been a woman in a wheelchair trying to exist in a world that hates inconvenience. I wanted to report Patricia to the county's HOA board, but Emma didn't want war. We'll just document everything, she said. Screenshots, notes, dates. If she crosses a line, we'll have proof. She was always the rational one, the one who still believed in systems. That proof piled up fast, texts, fines, neighbor complaints that looked suspiciously identical. Patricia had allies, other residents who'd absorbed her poison about keeping the community pure. I once overheard two of them whisper at the mailbox, "It's a shame. People like that shouldn't buy homes here." Their voices slid under my skin like glass shards. Then came the playground rule change. Patricia had added a line in the HOA's online bulletin, wheeled mobility devices restricted to designated walking paths. Playground area reserved for foot traffic. Emma had shown me the screenshot that night, jaw tight. Daniel, she's making this personal. She can't enforce that. I said, ADA law protects you. Emma sighed. You'd be surprised how people twist words when they think power makes them right. A week later, Patricia showed up at our door holding a measuring tape and her little digital camera. Routine inspection, she said. I blocked the doorway. We're done with this. She smiled sweetly. Then I'll just document noncompliance from the street. I remember slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. I'd never done that before. Looking back now, I realize every warning was there, every clue that she wasn't just an overzealous neighbor, but something worse. Someone who'd convinced herself that cruelty was order. The morning it happened, the sky was blindingly blue, the kind of calm that mocks you later. Emma wore her favorite yellow sundress, the one with tiny white flowers that matched the daisy clip in Lily's hair. We'd been laughing about breakfast, about how Lily thought cereal tastes better when eaten outside. It was such a normal moment, it could have been a commercial. Then Patricia appeared. I didn't see her at first. I heard her. That voice, sharp nasal, polished with fake authority, cut through the laughter like broken glass. Rules are rules. No exceptions. Her heels clicked against the concrete path as she marched across the playground, a clipboard in one hand, a phone recording in the other. Emma's chair was parked near the edge of the ramp, her brakes locked, her hands busy unpacking snacks. Lily was building a sandcastle beside her, humming softly. Patricia's shadow fell across them like a storm cloud. This area is for walking children only, she barked. Emma blinked, confused. Excuse me? You heard me. This is a no-wheel zone. The playground is off-limits to non-pedestrian devices. It's in the HOA addendum. Emma laughed, once, a dry, incredulous sound. Patricia, it's a wheelchair, not a dirt bike. I don't make the rules, Patricia said, though everyone knew she did. You're in violation. Please remove yourself immediately before I call security. Lily looked up, frightened. Mommy? It's okay, baby, Emma said softly. We're not doing anything wrong. But Patricia kept coming, her voice rising, feeding on itself. You people think the world bends for you. I have the authority to enforce. That's when she grabbed the chair. It was so sudden that for half a heartbeat no one moved. Then the metal shrieked as the wheels twisted sideways. The air filled with the sound, rubber scraping concrete, the gasp of parents, the sharp cry from Lily. Emma's body lurched forward, her balance lost. Patricia yanked again, her face twisted in a smile that didn't belong to sanity. You're trespassing on community property. Stop, I shouted, sprinting across the grass. My feet hammered the ground, but the world seemed to slow down. I saw Emma's fingers dig into the sides of the chair, her nails scraping paint. I saw Lily drop her plastic shovel, eyes wide. Then, the final pull, Emma toppled sideways onto the sand, her body twisting, the chair clattering over. Silence. A heavy, suffocating silence, broken only by the creak of the chair's loose wheel spinning in the air. Then a sound, Emma's breath short and pained. She looked up, sand clinging to her hair, tears bright in her eyes. Patricia froze, her phone still recording. "You assaulted me," she yelled suddenly, flipping the narrative before anyone could speak. "She attacked me. She lunged at me." I reached them, grabbed the chair upright, and glared at her. "You just assaulted a disabled woman, Patricia." She smirked. "I have it all on video. The HOA will hear about this." That's when the sirens started in the distance. Someone had called 911. The sunlight hit the spinning wheel, flashing silver like a warning. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't sure if I could trust myself not to lose control. The sirens grew louder, echoing against the playground walls until they became part of the panic itself. Parents ushered their children away, whispering. Phones were still pointed at us, recording everything but helping no one. Emma was on the ground, breathing shallowly, trying to push herself upright. I knelt beside her, my hands trembling as I checked her shoulder, her wrist, her head. Sand clung to her skin, sparkling under the merciless sun. "I'm okay," she whispered, though her voice cracked halfway through. "Daniel, my chair, the wheelchair's front wheel was bent, the metal frame twisted where Patricia's grip had torn through. I could see the small sticker Lily had put on the armrest last week, a tiny blue butterfly. Half of it was scraped away. That's when the anger hit me, not the kind that burns, but the kind that freezes every thought, the kind that makes the world too quiet." The first patrol car arrived. Officer Ramirez stepped out, hand on her radio. "Sir, step back." Her tone was cautious, rehearsed. Patricia was already performing. "She attacked me," Patricia said, clutching her phone like evidence from a crime scene. "She lunged at me when I tried to enforce the community rules. I have footage." Ramirez looked at me, then at Emma on the ground. "Ma'am, are you injured?" Emma swallowed hard. "I'm fine." She grabbed my chair. "That's a lie." Patricia snapped. "This entire family's been a problem since they moved in." Something in me broke then, not loud, not visible. Just a clean, silent break inside my chest. I stood, the crunch of sand under my boots sounding impossibly loud. "Officer," I said, calm but shaking, "you can check the cameras on the park's light poles. They record everything. My wife didn't touch her." Ramirez nodded slowly. "Understood." She turned to Patricia. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step aside." For the first time, Patricia's confidence faltered. Her fingers twitched on the phone, eyes darting toward the nearest parents, her witnesses shrinking away. As the paramedics lifted Emma back into what was left of her chair, I caught Lily's face. She was holding her mother's broken daisy clip, its petals bent. "Dad," she said quietly, "is that lady going to say sorry?" I looked at her, then at Patricia, who refused to meet my eyes. "Not today," I said, "but she will." That night, the house was silent except for the hum of the air conditioner and the faint ticking of the kitchen clock. Emma sat in the living room, her arm in a brace, staring at the wheelchair we'd managed to straighten just enough to roll her inside. The paint was scratched. The right wheel still wobbled with a soft metallic creak each time it moved. It sounded like a heartbeat, out of rhythm, uneven, haunting. Lily had cried herself to sleep upstairs. I'd tucked her in and promised everything was okay, even though I didn't believe it myself. I stood at the window, watching the streetlights glow over our perfect little neighborhood. The white fences, the trimmed lawns, the polished mailboxes, all built to look safe. But every shadow looked like her. Every car that passed, every faint sound of heels on pavement made my hands tighten. Emma finally spoke. "She'll get away with it." I turned. "No, she won't." "She will," she said quietly. "People like her always do." They smile, they twist the story, and somehow they're the ones protected. She brushed her hair back, eyes glassy with exhaustion. She humiliated me, Daniel, in front of our daughter. And you know what's worse? I didn't answer. I wasn't even surprised. That broke something in me. I knelt beside her, holding her hand. I swear to you, she's not walking away from this. I'll make sure she faces consequences, legal, public, whatever it takes. Emma's gaze flickered to me, searching. Don't do something that makes you lose yourself. Who says I haven't already? I whispered. She looked away then, tears slipping down her cheeks. The sound of the creaking wheel filled the silence again. I reached out and stopped it from spinning. Tomorrow we start, I said. I spent the rest of the night at the dining table with my laptop open. I filed a police report, a civil complaint, and a statement with the county's ADA compliance office. Then I started emailing every journalist within 50 miles. I attached the phone videos that had already started spreading online. Neighbors had sent them anonymously. The clips were shaky, but they showed everything. Patricia's face twisted in fury, her hands on Emma's chair the moment of the fall. By sunrise, the video had 42,000 views and counting. The headline wrote itself. HOA President Snatches Wheelchair from Disabled Woman at Playground. The internet was watching now. And for once, Patricia Holloway couldn't hide behind her clipboard. I poured a cup of coffee, the smell sharp and bitter, and watched the first rays of light touch the ramp outside our door. This is where it turns, I said aloud. This time, it's her turn to explain. By the next afternoon, 2 police cruisers parked in front of our house. The neighborhood curtains twitched like synchronized clockwork. Patricia's white SUV sat 3 houses down, her blinds drawn, her world shrinking. Detective Rodriguez, mid-40s, calm voice, old-school notebook, showed up at our door. Mr. Mercer, he said, offering a firm handshake, I'm assigned to the Holloway investigation. He had the kind of eyes that had seen too many people at their worst and still wanted to believe in law. I invited him inside. The smell of coffee and disinfectant hung in the air. Emma's chair creaked when she turned toward him. I've reviewed the footage, he said, flipping a page. It's clear she initiated contact. But Ms. Holloway's already claiming self-defense, that you threatened her, that your wife tried to attack her with the wheelchair. I almost laughed. Attack her? With a chair? Rodriguez didn't smile. She's filed a counter-report. Claims you've been harassing her for months. Emma's eyes widened. We have messages, fines, every ridiculous letter she's sent. Good, he said. Keep them safe. Don't delete a thing. He leaned forward. Here's the truth. HOA presidents can spin narratives fast, but the county prosecutor doesn't like viral attention. The footage helps, but we'll need witness statements. People saw this, neighbors, parents. They're scared, I said. She's been running this place like a fiefdom for years. Rodriguez nodded slowly. Then, maybe it's time someone stood up to her. When he left, I followed him outside. The summer air was heavy, smelling faintly of cut grass and gasoline. Detective, I asked quietly, what happens if she wins this in court? He paused. Then she'll walk away with a fine and a press statement. But if that happens, she won't walk away clean. Public opinion's a powerful thing. 2 days later, we got our first subpoena. The county had decided to charge Patricia with misdemeanor assault and harassment. Not enough, but it was a start. Emma's video statement went viral, 1 minute long, filmed in our living room. She didn't raise her voice once. She just said, I wasn't asking for special treatment. I was asking to exist. That clip hit 1 million views in 12 hours. News vans lined the street. Reporters called it the wheelchair case. Patricia's lawyer released a statement calling it an unfortunate misunderstanding blown out of proportion by social media hysteria. But every time I refreshed the screen, another comment appeared. Another stranger saying, this could have been my mom, my sister, my friend. And that's when I realized this wasn't just our fight anymore. It had become everyone's. By the end of that week, Willow Creek didn't look like a neighborhood anymore. It looked like a crime scene dressed up in flower beds and white fences. Satellite vans lined the cul-de-sac, their metal dishes aimed at the sky like sunflowers seeking outrage. News anchors rehearsed in front of our house while the HOA board tried to hold an emergency meeting at the clubhouse, guarded by private security. Patricia Holloway hadn't been seen in 3 days, but she was everywhere. Her lawyer, Craig Landers, went live on Channel 5. He had that TV smile kind of face, clean-shaven, sympathetic fake. "My client deeply regrets the incident," he said, shaking his head for effect. "But this has been misrepresented. She was enforcing community safety guidelines when an emotional altercation escalated." He glanced at the camera, voice softening. "Mrs. Holloway has served her community for over a decade. She's received threats since this video went viral. We ask for compassion and fairness." Compassion. That word felt like acid. The clip ran all day, paired with split-screen footage of Emma hitting the sand. They blurred her face, but left Patricia's pristine. The online comments turned chaotic, half of them furious at the injustice, the other half parroting phrases like, "We don't know the full story." Emma watched from the couch, her hands tight on the armrest. "They're making her the victim," she whispered. "That's what spin is," I said. Truth, folded into a prettier lie. That night, the HOA board emailed residents a statement. It was written in the same polished tone Patricia had perfected. "The board values inclusivity but must maintain standards of conduct for shared spaces. We encourage neighbors to refrain from online hostility." Translation: protect Patricia. Silence Emma. Keep the facade. The next morning, I opened our mailbox to find a letter slid inside without postage. One sentence typed, "Drop it or your family pays next." I took it to Detective Rodriguez. He scanned it once, jaw tightening. "Anonymous threats usually come from guilt," he said. "We'll log it, but be careful." But Emma refused to hide. She went on local radio, her voice steady, but breaking just enough to sound human. "This isn't about grass length or playground rules," she said. "It's about who gets to decide who belongs. If a woman in a wheelchair isn't welcome, no one's safe from judgment." Her words lit something online. An army of supporters, lawyers offering pro bono help, strangers showing up with signs reading "No will zone? Not in our town." For the first time, Patricia Holloway's silence wasn't control, it was fear. The courtroom date was set for August 4th. And when the summons arrived, it wasn't just her name printed on the paper. It was the name of everything she'd stood for. The courthouse smelled faintly of paper, coffee, and disinfectant. The scent of bureaucracy trying to mask human mess. Rows of benches filled with reporters, neighbors, and curious strangers. It was standing room only, a quiet storm waiting for its first thunderclap. Emma sat beside me in her repaired chair, her hair neatly tied, her hands folded in her lap. She wore calm like armor. Patricia Holloway, on the other side, looked like she'd aged 10 years. Her pearl earrings glinted under the fluorescent lights, her eyes bloodshot but defiant. When the bailiff called, "All rise," the creak of Emma's wheelchair echoed across the marble, a sound sharper than any gavel. The prosecutor, Jennifer Chin, opened with precision. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is not a case about playground rules. This is about humiliation. It's about abuse of authority cloaked in the language of order." She gestured to the screen behind her. "This video will show you exactly what happened." The footage played, no music, no editing, just raw truth. Patricia grabbing the chair. The struggle. The fall. The gasp from the crowd. It ended with that awful spinning wheel. You could hear a pin drop. Jennifer let the silence breathe, then spoke softly. "The victim you see here, Mrs. Emma Mercer, did not provoke, did not attack, did not resist. She was simply existing in a public space when someone decided that her existence violated neighborhood decorum." Patricia's lawyer shifted uncomfortably. The first witness was Officer Ramirez, the one who'd responded that day. "When I arrived," she said, "Mrs. Holloway was agitated, claiming assault. But Mrs. Mercer was on the ground, visibly shaken." The witnesses contradicted Mrs. Holloway's version. Jennifer nodded. Did the video footage support her claims of self-defense? Ramirez shook her head. No, ma'am. The footage clearly showed her initiating physical contact. Then came Lily's teacher, who had been at the park that day. Her voice trembled. I heard Mrs. Holloway yell something about a no-wheel zone. I didn't understand at first. Then she grabbed the chair. Everyone froze. It didn't feel real. Patricia kept her gaze fixed forward, jaw tight. When it was Emma's turn to testify, I wanted to stop time. She rolled herself to the front, every squeak of the wheel echoing like a heartbeat. Jennifer leaned close, voice gentle. Mrs. Mercer, can you tell the jury what you remember from that morning? Emma's voice was calm, but carried that quiet storm she'd bottled for weeks. I was at the playground with my daughter. I'd parked at the edge of the ramp, just talking to her. Mrs. Holloway approached, shouting about rules. When she grabbed my chair, I felt powerless. Like I wasn't a person anymore, just an object she could move. Jennifer nodded. How did that make you feel? Emma hesitated. Smaller than I already am. And I don't mean height. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Jennifer gestured toward Patricia. Do you see the person who did this to you? Emma's hand didn't tremble when she pointed. Yes, she's sitting right there. Patricia's lawyer rose for cross-examination. His voice was smooth, friendly, dangerous. Mrs. Mercer, emotions run high in neighborhood disputes. Could it be that this was simply a misunderstanding? That you may have overreacted? Emma's lips pressed together. I didn't misunderstand someone yanking the chair out from under me. He smiled thinly. And you've spoken publicly about this online, correct? Interviews, social media posts? Yes. So, you've gained quite a following from this? Her eyes hardened. I didn't want followers. I wanted respect. That answer hung in the air. The jury leaned in. Jennifer let it linger before ending the day's session. As we left the courtroom, reporters swarmed, shouting questions. But I only heard Emma's whisper beside me. That's one day down. I squeezed her hand. One step closer. But I could see Patricia's lawyer's smile as he packed his notes, thin, knowing. He had something planned, something that smelled like manipulation. The next morning, the courtroom felt colder. Patricia's side of the bench was suddenly crowded, neighbors, HOA board members, even a few local business owners sitting in silent support. Her lawyer, Craig Landers, walked in with that confident grin that made my stomach twist. He straightened his tie and began his defense like a man directing theater. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, pacing slowly, we live in an age where perception can destroy truth. My client, Mrs. Holloway, has been vilified online. Her face splashed across millions of screens. But videos, as you know, never tell the full story. He paused, letting the words soak. This isn't about cruelty. This is about fear. My client was afraid. Afraid. The word burned through the room. He called Patricia to the stand. She looked fragile now, her hair pinned tight, her hands trembling just enough to seem rehearsed. I was just trying to keep the playground safe, she said, voice trembling. I've received complaints about bikes, scooters, and yes, wheels on a ramp. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I was just trying to do my duty. Her lawyer nodded sympathetically. And when Mrs. Mercer raised her voice, Patricia's eyes filled with crocodile tears. She lunged forward. I panicked. I reacted. A few jurors frowned. One woman even shifted in her seat, uncertain. I could feel the narrative tilting. Craig had planted the seed of doubt. Then came the micro twist, his next witness. A man I recognized instantly, Howard Finch, a neighbor from across the street. The same man who'd once complained about van noise when I loaded Emma's wheelchair ramp. He took the stand and adjusted his glasses. I've seen the Mercers argue with Mrs. Holloway before, he said. There's been tension, a lot of shouting. I even heard threats once, something about burning this HOA to the ground. My jaw clenched. That's a lie, I whispered. Emma's fingers gripped my hand. Jennifer jumped up. Objection. Hearsay and inflammatory. The judge nodded. Sustained. Jury will disregard the last statement. But the damage was done. The jurors had heard it. The seed was in their heads. Craig leaned against the podium. Fear can make people act irrationally, he said smoothly. Even good people. Mrs. Holloway has devoted her life to this community. She made a mistake, yes, but a mistake is not a crime. He turned toward the jury, lowering his voice. Ask yourselves, does destroying this woman's life truly serve justice? He sat down slowly, satisfied, while Patricia dabbed fake tears with a tissue. Jennifer rose for her rebuttal, calm and precise. You've just heard a performance, she said simply. Fear is not a license to harm, and authority without accountability is tyranny. The jury watched her walk back to her seat. The judge called for recess. As the gavel struck, Patricia's eyes flicked to mine, full of something worse than hatred, certainty. She thought she'd won. But Detective Rodriguez was waiting in the hallway with a folder in his hand and a look that said everything was about to change. When court reconvened after lunch, the air felt different, thicker, charged. Detective Rodriguez walked to the stand carrying a single manila folder. Patricia's lawyer shifted uncomfortably, whispering something to her. Rodriguez looked steady, composed, the way only truth can be when it's about to cut through the noise. Detective, Jennifer began, you've brought new evidence before the court? Yes, ma'am. He placed a flash drive on the evidence table. Recovered footage from a resident's doorbell camera facing the playground. Craig Landers was on his feet instantly. Objection. We've had no prior access to this material. The judge raised a hand. You'll have it now, counselor. Sit down. The video played on the big screen. A wider angle this time, sharper. It captured everything Patricia's phone didn't. Her smirk before grabbing the chair, the deliberate yank, and the words she muttered under her breath, picked up crystal clear on the audio. Let's see you roll now. The courtroom went silent. No coughs, no paper shuffling. Just that line replaying, a snake hiss rapped in English. Patricia's face drained of color. Her lawyer's jaw set hard, but the damage was irreversible. Jennifer spoke softly, almost gently. No further questions. When the jury left to deliberate, time lost meaning. Emma's hand found mine, fingers ice cold. Across the aisle, Patricia sat perfectly still, staring at the table as if she could will it to disappear. After 47 minutes, the jury filed back in. None of them looked at her. The foreman stood. On the charge of assault, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of harassment, guilty. On the charge of intentional emotional harm, guilty. Emma exhaled a sound that was half sob, half disbelief. Patricia's shoulders sagged, pearls trembling against her neck. Her lawyer whispered, "We'll appeal." The judge nodded solemnly. Mrs. Holloway, you are hereby sentenced to 3 years in county custody and ordered to complete full ADA compliance training. Court is adjourned. The gavel hit once. Hard, but victory didn't feel like triumph. It felt like quiet, heavy and raw. I looked at Emma, her tears streaking clean lines down her cheeks. She whispered, "It's over." I shook my head. No, it's beginning. Outside, the cameras flashed again, reporters shouting, "Mr. Mercer, Mrs. Mercer, how do you feel?" How did we feel? Exhausted, grateful, still angry. But behind us, I heard a child's laugh, Lily's, pure and real. For the first time in months, it didn't sound haunted. That's when I realized justice doesn't heal you. It just stops the bleeding long enough to start mending. 6 months later, winter came early to Willow Creek. Frost painted the lawns white, softening the sharp edges of houses that once felt like battlegrounds. Patricia Holloway was gone, serving her sentence in county custody, but her shadow lingered in every rule book, every sign, every wary glance exchanged between neighbors pretending to be polite. The HOA had appointed a new president, a quiet woman named Marcy who knocked on our door one morning with a different kind of clipboard. "I'd like to make the playground fully accessible," she said. "Ramps, soft paths, the works. We could name it after Emma, if she's comfortable with that." Emma smiled, small but genuine. "Don't name it after me," she said. "Name it after every kid who's ever been told they don't belong." That became the slogan for the new sign at the playground gate. Everyone belongs here. Construction began in spring. I helped pour concrete for the new ramp, while Lily painted the railings bright blue. The smell of fresh paint, the sound of children's laughter, it all felt like cleansing fire, burning away what Patricia had left behind. During those months, Emma spoke at 3 state hearings on accessibility rights. Her speech was simple: disability is not inconvenience. It's humanity in another form. Lawmakers listened. Within a year, the state passed the Mercer Amendment requiring HOAs to undergo ADA training and banning discriminatory playground restrictions. It wasn't revenge, it was reform, and reform lasts longer. Sometimes late at night, I still hear that sound, the screech of rubber against concrete, that moment everything broke. It'll never leave me completely. But now, when I drive past the park, I see something else. The new ramp gleaming in sunlight, kids running and rolling side by side, no boundaries, no fear. Emma sits near the benches most mornings, sketching with Lily. She's painting again, something she'd stopped doing after the accident. Her latest piece hangs above our fireplace, the playground bathed in gold light, the wheelchair parked beneath a tree, untouched, proud. Last week, a letter arrived from a mother across the country. She wrote, "Because of your story, our HOA changed their rules. My daughter can finally play where other kids do." Emma cried when she read it. So did I? Justice isn't perfect. It doesn't fix the past, but it plants something in the ground that wasn't there before, something that can grow. Sometimes I walk past Patricia's old house. It's for sale again, the for sale sign flapping in the wind. The world moves on, whether you want it to or not. I look at it and think of all the things she tried to control, the grass length, the ramps, the people, and how none of it mattered in the end. Because control fades. Kindness doesn't. Before I leave the park each evening, I run my hand along the new ramp rail. It's smooth, cool to the touch. I always whisper the same thing under my breath. We're still here. If you're watching this, and you've ever been told you don't belong, remember you do. You always have. And if you believe in that as much as we did, subscribe, share this story, and help someone else find their place. Because sometimes the smallest battles change the biggest rules.